Okay, well, I think that we should probably make a start. And as I understand it, we can note where there are decisions we made. We note it and it comes forward to the beginning of the next meeting, and we remind ourselves how we discussed and what decision we made, and we ratify it then and report it. If the Hillary arrives before the end, then maybe we can rejig that and revisit that. So apologies for being a bit disrupted. Are there any other apologies for absence? To anyone who's we've got apologies from Councillor Martin Walton and Councillor Nick Draper is substituting for Merton now. Any other apologies? Everyone else is here. That's good. Do we have any declarations of interest? Very brief. Right, okay. The minutes of the previous meeting, which were held in Sutton, which is hopefully not where Hillary is heading now. So, starting on page 1, item 4, that is. So really it's just to run through those. Anything on pages 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. 6. Are they, by those here, agreed to the true record then of the last meeting? Okay, I'll sign those in December, in the next meeting. That's what I'm now. We noted that we do agree them. And are there any matters arising from those that are not covered elsewhere on the agenda? That's good, thank you. Well, moving on to item 5. Shall we, was everyone here last time? Or are there any substitutes at all? So Nick's the only change and your first party. I think it would be useful just to run around the table and just introduce ourselves so we know who we are and what our role is on the committee here. Just before we go any further beyond benefits and for the next benefit too. So I'm Mike Brunt, the Cabinet Member for Refuse and Recycling and Street Cleaning in Merton, various titles, but that's generally what it is.
I'm Councillor Nick Draper. I'm Merton Cabinet Member for Community and Culture, which covers green spaces, leisure, libraries, heritage and licensing and adult education.
Right. Amy Dimashevsky, Democratic Services.
Charles Baker, Commissioning Manager for Merton Council.
Anita Shirley, Assistant Director for Public Space at Merton Council and Chair of the Office and Management Group with the Partnership.
Slade Director in Merton.
I'm Steve Arles, Director of Streets of Croydon.
Stuart King, Cabinet Member in Croydon for Environment, Transport and Regeneration.
Councillor Stewart, Cabinet Member for Clean and Green Croydon.
Tom Lawrence, Head of Environment and Leisure at Croydon.
Richard Lewis, Head of Environment at Kingston.
I'm Michael Mackey, I'm Head of Finance Operations and Business Support for the Shared Finance Service for Kingston Sutton, and I'm also the Finance Service for the Partnership.
I'm John Haynes, I'm the Communications Advisor for the Partnership.
Councillor Member for Environment and Safety.
Matt Clark, Assistant Director of the Higher Commission in Sutton.
Sutton Councillor and Penrose Vice Chair.
And Baker, Strategic Partnership Manager for the West Country.
Thank you very much for those introductions. Right, moving on to item 5, which is the Andy's going to introduce, which is the phase A and B contracts update.
Thank you very much. So this report covers 3 contracts that are managed under the phase A and B heading. The first of those contracts is the Transport and Residual Waste Management contract with Waste Management Limited. The paragraph 2.1 summarises the waste that managed under that contract in quarter 1 of this year. We've seen a small reduction in residual waste of 2.4% in that quarter. It's a bit too early in the year to draw conclusions from that. So the phase C changes will have an impact on waste horizons and monitoring that goes through the year. As usual, some of our residual waste has been diverted from landfill contract has included some site reconfigurations and upgrades which have been completed. In this case, and maybe some further work at some sites where we've identified some further improvements. Generally speaking, site user experience, we're still getting very positive results from the survey results. The contract has a target of 80% levels of satisfaction, and we have exceeded those consistently. Pleasingly, the satisfaction score in relation to queue times has increased again this quarter and previously fallen. Positive. And the recycling performance at the sites, we broadly speaking have performance above the 70% contract target level. This quarter, the recycling rate didn't achieve the 70%, but has steadily improved month by month through the quarter. So we're anticipating that the increase in outturn will be above the target. Contract 3 is our materials recycling services contract, again with Residual waste management. Tables 4A to 4C in the appendix show the quantities of garden waste, food waste and recycled collected under that contract and treated through the contract on behalf of each of the boroughs. The report summarises where the materials in each of those boroughs and their contract performance continues to meet expectation. And then the report covers a Phase B update, which is the construction of the ERF facility in Bennington. This contract with Residual again. As we reported earlier to the last committee, it's anticipated now that the completion of the facility will be in the autumn 2018, and we're expecting that it's likely to be towards the end of October. The plant is receiving waste for the ongoing commissioning testing. Those tests continue to go well, so we expect to have further update after the next meeting. Recommendations then to notes the reports of those plants.
Does anyone have any comments or questions? Questions first, Andy, on the information there. Yes?
Yeah, not particularly a question, but the satisfaction rates are really good. I've had a lot of feedback from residents that how helpful the staff are at all the household recycling centres. So, particularly with helping residents that are sort of vulnerable or have difficulties, it's been really impressive that residents keep coming back and saying that they're so helpful at those sites. So if we could, as a partnership, pass the message on to the staff working there, because it's quite a tough job and they are very flexible, and we need them to keep on side with the partnership, because if we do have to make any difficult decisions about what can go in and out of there, it's important that they've got the goodwill of the public, and I think it's really important we say as a partnership that we've heard that feedback and we relay it to the staff, and that's the staff on the ground, so not particularly the managers, but we need to get back and say the people helping out there are really good.
Any other thoughts or questions?
Just a quick one. 2.2.6, it talks about Kington and additional measures to improve the recycling levels on the site. Just a refresh on what those measures actually are.
So it's quite looking at the management of the sites, and there's some changes in how the sites are actually being managed and sites physically, and also looking at what the possibilities are in terms of new outlets for materials. So sometimes materials like carpet, mattresses, and plastics, broadening the different markets that we can use to make sure there's much material that can be recycled.
This is just for information. What does the EFW stand for?
Energy from waste.
Oh, cool.
Another word.
So as far as that's concerned, that's really just beginning to get going, is it? So Kingston do plenty of it, but the others virtually not.
Some of the material from Kingston is able to go to the Lakeside facility currently, and then our current subscription commission.
Got it?
It's Merton starts its enhanced refuse collection and the launch. So I'm still optimistic, because I highlighted it last time, that our food waste is not good enough, really. That's pulling down the averages across the partnership. I worked out, I think, that it was about 3 kilos per household per month, compared with Sutton, it was about 7.5 kilos a year ahead of us in that launch of that. We've had the service for some time, but hopefully it will be reinvigorated by the new rollout. We'll just have a chat with Croydon members later on about how their first 2 weeks have gone. Week and a half, rather.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Annie about this. I think there is a role for us in the workshops to work together, particularly about the reduction in the size of landfill bins and getting more people to recycle. We've increased the capacity of the doorstep now, so there's a really good amount of information that we can share about the rollouts and what we can learn. And obviously we've learned from things when Sutton rolled out, we've learned about issues there that we can all share, because I know Kingston, for instance, are going to go live in 19, so I think the workshops are going to be crucial so that we can make sure that we take all the best things from the rollouts. Yes. But we will, of course, be publishing regularly results in terms of the increase in recycling. And really, as a partnership, it would be great if by 2020 we're getting up to something like 60-70% of recycling. And I think if we all work together on it and unify a lot of the ways we're collecting, I think that's the way forward.
Okay, so all made, I think, and we have the same. Any other comments on the performance report? Yes.
Can I just on contract 2, 2.2.2 makes reference to further work taking place over the next 6 to 12 months. I wonder if you could just elaborate on what that would entail. And then a reference back to the last meeting, we were told that we were looking at AMPR technology being introduced to help identify the number of visitors so that we can further refine and get more accurate information on tonnage and the like. Is that still planned, scheduled? When might we expect that to become part of the service?
So in Croydon and Strategy Labour, we're looking at potentially some adjustments to the site. I'll have to come back to you on the details of what's proposed there. In terms of AMPR, we've got that running at all of the sites now, so we're able to monitor the number of repeat users and number of users across the different sites. So that already exists now, and we can make sure we're bringing that to you through the briefings locally and indeed to the
Thanks. I think that would be helpful, because I think that would assist us in understanding how our residents are using the service. And then one final observation, which you could take as a comment if you want, a question if you want. So on the table in the appendices at the back, if you look at the last 4 surveys, so this is section 2 on HRRC, second one down. The last 4 surveys, October 17 to July 18, all show a reduced number of responses compared with the same period a year before. Are we still confident that they are representative, given in some cases there are almost half as many people taking part? And is that something we just want to be mindful of?
I'll pick that one up, if that's okay, Chair, thank you. You're right, and I think speaking to Veolia who conduct the surveys, it's because obviously you get a lot of repeat users at the sites, and many of them now have been asked to survey once, and then they come back second, third, fourth time over the space of time, and they're less likely to do it again. So that's why we're seeing a bit of a tail off. There's still the same amount of resource on site trying to collect the information. I think you're right, we need to look at it. One option is to maybe just not stop the surveys altogether, but maybe just reduce them down a little bit and use that resource in another way, perhaps to promote the garden waste service for use at the site, maybe just to give it a bit of a break so that people have a break from the survey, and then we can start it again and hopefully get those numbers back up again. But the numbers are still pretty high. They're well over the threshold that we'd be looking for to have fairly good confidence in the results.
Just a very good point. Just on what Councillor Collins was saying about the workshops, and maybe just to share a bit of good news. It looks, knock on wood, that we're going to get Sutton's going to be just over 50% recycling in terms of our recycling rate this year. I think it puts us top 3 in London. So maybe I share your nervousness as you come into the changes, but we saw an increase of 13% with these changes, so hopefully we'll see a partnership. It's either matching or exceeding estimates.
That's very encouraging. So, pain, I wouldn't say it was worth it, but you got through the pain, perhaps.
Can I ask a question on green waste, which doesn't need necessarily be answered? Presumably what we're measuring is the amount of green waste which is going into the bins as opposed to going into the general rubbish. We don't measure the amount of green waste going into, food waste going into the rubbish. The ideal would be to have, first of all our food waste going into the recycling, but then to see it reduce. Is that right? Have we got any plans in that direction? And given that it is a very, very long term plan, the ideal would be to see an increase followed by a decrease as people waste less food.
Yes,
So when food waste schemes are introduced, I think typically what's seen is that you get a peak early on and then it does start to diminish, and typically that's believed to be because people can see the amount of food you're throwing away and your shopping habits naturally change because you realise you can save some money by buying less. But the only way for us to get an idea of the quantity within the waste is to do some very detailed waste audits, which have been done in the past, and it's likely we want to do it at some point again in the future to identify how much of all the different things that can be recycled might still be making their way into our waste stream. And I think the first thing is for us to roll out partnership-wide with the new services. Once they're bedded in, take a look again at the amounts we believe might then still not be finding their way into the right areas to get to the right end.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other comments, we welcome Councillor Gander from Kingston.
Thank you, Chair. Am I speaking? Sorry, I don't
Yes.
know if I'm on or not. Sorry, apologies. I didn't know which way the chair was facing when I came in.
Right, okay. Is this one? Okay. We've just been through item 4, and we're just saying that that's for noting. So, is that duly noted? I think it's probably worth, item 5, noted. I think it's worth returning to item 4, which is the minutes, which we looked through and there were no matters arising and they were taken as being accurate. Are you comfortable that they are accurate and there's no matters arising? So, so is it then the wish of the committee that I sign those? Yes. Shall we move on to item 6, which is also going to be introducing governance, and we have some recommendations.
Thank you. So the Joint Waste Committee asked that its governance arrangements be reviewed and the consideration be given to including environmental services delivered through the joint contract with Veolia within the remit of the committee. We've therefore undertaken a review of this paper, as well as discussions with officers in all boroughs and their SLWP legal leads to review and feed the discussion of reports and recommendations that led to the creation of the Joint Waste Committee in 2007 and subsequent documents, including our inter-authority agreements and recommendations to boroughs with respect to the waste contracts. The review details the creation and scope of the Joint Waste Committee in paragraphs 4 to 10. Including the once potential formation of a joint waste authority. This is an option that's no longer available to boroughs. And in paragraphs 11 to 15, the report outlines decision-making and endorsements for South London Waste Partnership contracts, including the new environmental services contracts. The review also outlines arrangements made by other waste partnerships, and these are many and varied, and there's no single model to follow. However, the South London Waste Partnership arrangement with a joint committee, a constitution and inter-authority agreements is consistent with the models adopted elsewhere. Detail of those can be found in Annex 2 of the report. The review considers 4 options. The first is a do-nothing option. That doesn't prevent joint working, but does mean that there's only an indirect line of reporting between the SLWP team into the joint committee. The second option is to examine the opportunities for change offered by the South London Waste Partnership's constitution in its current form. And the existing SLWP constitution is created in paragraph 21 and defines the committee's strategic and advisory role in relation to waste management generally, not just waste disposal. And paragraph 32, in fact, the review looks at the issues that could be considered under the current constitution, and we've already programmed in a workshop for members which can look at partnership-wide performance, for example. Option 3 is to defer consideration of any change in the constitution until the current waste collection and street cleaning contract is fully stabilised. We're not just yet in a steady state period with the new environmental services contract. Services are undergoing transformation this autumn, and the Royal Borough of Kingston will join the contract in April 2019. The inter-authority agreement sets out timescales for consideration of any extension, and the committee may wish to defer consideration of a change in its remit until decisions be taken in each of the boroughs on that matter. Option 4 is to include waste collection and street cleaning explicitly within the Joint Waste Committee's remit, and to do so now. Changing the remit would simplify future decision-making and procurements. However, if boroughs did not agree to pursue further joint working or procurement or extension, the committee would need to revise its constitution again. The report therefore recommends approving options 2 and 3, and those are to work both formally and formally within the existing remit of the Joint Committee to assist the boroughs by offering non-binding guidance from waste management as a whole, and by commissioning comprehensive annual reports analysing the performance of the partnership's various contracts. And option 3, which is to defer consideration of the expansion of the remit of the Joint Committee until 2020 at the earliest, so that it would be ancillary to borough decisions about extension of the current waste collection and street cleaning and contracts.
Thank you. Yes,
Yes, this is all my fault. Thank you, Annie, for a really good paper, and I think I agree with going with option 2 and 3. It does obviously make sense that we start analysing the performance of Veolia and looking at that as a committee when we're all on board, and as you say, Kingston aren't on board till 2019. But as long as we do make sure that we take up option 3 when it's actually in place, and then we're all on board, because I do think it's vital that if when we're awarding contracts for such a long period of time, that there is some form of scrutiny amongst all of us collectively on the standard of street cleaning, what the grades are across all the boroughs, and also what the standard is in terms of missed collections and so on, because it's a huge contract and we do need to hold Veolia to account and have some form of us being able to do that formally. And I think having regular reports on the performance of street cleaning and obviously waste collection, I think is really important. The only point I would say though is that I think we should at this point make that clear that we're going to do this in the future, so that residents that are asking, well, have you only got this for life? Or we say, well, no, it will always be under review, and the South London Partnership collectively will look at this. And because I think if people do say that a contractor's not operating correctly, and we've got the evidence, we're stronger together as 4 boroughs coming back and saying, well, actually, we're not sure we would renew your contract if you've not succeeded, than we are if it's just one borough going on their own trying to take them on. So I think for those members of the public that are more cynical about Veolia's performance, and some of us at some points have had reason to be too, but we've got some way of coming back on that. So I think it's a very good paper, and I would propose we do agree options 2 and 3.
Is that second? Yeah, okay. Anyone else wish to speak on it? I think it's clear, and thank you Penny for taking us through it. It does meet the needs of the direction we're moving anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, with the recommendations agreed then, as they set out there, which is effectively option 2 and 3. 3 deferred by till 2020. Agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, which is the budget update, and Michael Mackey's going to take us through that.
Good evening. This paper provides an update on the partnership budget position at month forward, July, the financial year, projected outturn for the 2018-19 financial year. As for the last quarter, or last month or two, the projected outturn position for the year month 4 is that forecast spend as per budget. Therefore, there are no variations to report at this stage. The recommendation is to note the content of the report. There are any questions?
Any questions on the budget update? No? Is it reports duly noted then? Okay, thank you. Item 8, which is the draft budget for next year, and this is we're being asked here to consider as a kind of working brief to prepare the budget. Fine, so would you like to introduce it?
The partnership is required to produce a draft budget for consideration by the Joint Waste Committee by the 31st of October each year. In accordance with the Inter-Authority Agreement, the agreed draft budget is then subject to consideration by the individual boroughs before a finalised budget is taken to the Joint Waste Committee for approval. The IAA sets out that the final budget must be approved by 31st of December each year. The table in paragraph 2.1 shows the proposed budget for 2019-20, and I've also included the 18-19 approved budget for comparison. The proposed budget for 1920 is £816,200, an increase of £92,000 over 2018-19. The details behind the budget are detailed in paragraphs 2.3 to 2.6, but I'll just highlight a couple of the additional items which make up the 92,000. The budget does allow for increments and pay price increases of 2%. It does include a reduction of £50,000, which was a one-off resource last year for advisor costs. It also includes £40,000 for a resident survey to be taking place in 1920, and it also includes a proposed new post of Waste Strategy Officer, for which will be subject to a business case, and if that business case is approved by the boroughs, then it will be, if it isn't approved, then it will be removed by the 20 December committee. The recommendations for the committee to agree the proposed draft budget for the core activities of the partnership is set out in 2.1 and request individual boroughs to consider and agree the resources required in consultation with borough finance directors. Are any questions?
Are there any questions on the proposed budget?
Can I just ask on the increase in staff resources? That's going up by almost 100,000, but I'm presuming that's not all linked to the new waste strategy officer post.
No, that's right. The increase is the waste strategy post is about £45,000 plus overheads. There's £9,000 for increments, performance-related pay. There's also pay and price increases of 2% inflation this year, and then there's also contracts and compliance officer that when evaluated came out higher than originally forecast. So about £15,000 increase is relating to that.
That last bit wasn't in the report.
It's not specifically detailed in there, but it is part of the contract deposit. But I hope no, you're right. I haven't actually explicitly said that there's a £15,000 increase for that.
Yeah, Chair, it's just that this is an increase of nearly 13% over the previous year, everybody around the table would kind of balk at an increase of 13% in any budget that we have to subsidise from a local authority point of view. I mean, I'm sure that everything here has a rationale behind it, but I'm not really reading the rationale here, and I'm certainly not reading the kind of breakdown of costs here. I've got a kind of overview. I've got a list of new posts. I personally, I'm a junior on this committee, so you can overrule it, but I personally prefer to actually see things written down if I'm being asked to approve them.
Well, the actual budget decision will come back to the December committee.
Okay.
This is to give the go-ahead for the work to build the budget and make a business case for that post. And I would hope that the business case for that will be made clear that it will have a benefit to the boroughs. in terms of increased recycling maybe, but certainly a waste strategy that will cut costs and bring a cost benefit to boroughs. Because this is not something that should just grow without a benefit coming back. And that has to be quantified.
Thanks, Chair. I think that's a good point. Perhaps officers could note that so that when the next report comes to us, perhaps there is some detail around if the borough group, the management group are minded to move forward with the appointment, that the rationale behind that decision is evidence in the paper. Thank you.
With that proviso put in there, do we agree that the recommendation in the draft budget go forward for work? Come back. Okay.
Are we, sorry Chair, are we agreeing that the draft budget goes forward to work, or are we agreeing the proposed draft budget?
This in its form. We're agreeing the draft budget will now go to each individual borough to discuss with borough directors, finance directors.
Because that's not what it says in the recommendation. It says to agree the proposed draft budget. Sorry to be a pain.
Yes, to agree the proposed set out and request individual boroughs to consider and agree the resources required in consultation with finance directors. That this will then go away. The consultation will start with finance directors and will then come back with a recommendation of the final budget in December.
Does it need to say for the agreement at the next partnership? Yes, that makes sense. Because we still need to have people vote here on the final deal.
Nice one.
Okay, thank you. So with that position, that's agreed. We move on to item 9, which is John's going to give us a communications update.
Thank you, Chair. So this paper updates the Committee on Communications and Engagement Activity related to the Phase A and Phase B contracts, and it focuses on activity that's taking place between June and August this year. First of all, just draw your attention to Section 1, an update on the Plastic Planet campaign, which was discussed at the last committee. Just as a quick reminder, it's a targeted social media campaign using a set of 4 quite sort of eye-catching, hard-hitting videos that highlight the impact on the environment of plastic waste, and encouraging residents to recycle more of their plastic waste and to reduce their use of single-use plastics in the first place. The original plan, reported back to the last committee, was that the campaign would run over the summer months, over a 6-week period. But literally a few days after that meeting, and just before the campaign was due to go live, the National Audit Office published quite a high-profile report in which they criticised the Environment Agency for not carrying out adequate checks on where some of the plastics that were sent out for recycling actually ended up. Now, whilst that report focused on a very specific industry-led scheme called the Packaging Obligation System, it still led to quite a lot of press coverage and media coverage, and understandable concern amongst the public that perhaps their recycling efforts weren't as worthwhile as they thought they were. So the decision was taken to just hold back on that Plastic Planet campaign for a few weeks, mainly to give us the opportunity to just extend the scope of it a bit, to provide a bit more reassurance to residents about exactly where the recycling and plastics in particular actually go, be very specific about the locations that they're taken to, who deals with them, what happens to them, where they end up, and to try and reassure certain residents in our region that their recycling efforts are very much worthwhile. So I'm pleased to say the campaign, that's all been done. The web page that supports the campaign was being expanded to incorporate that information. The campaign went live in 3 of the 4 boroughs last Thursday. We're just holding off in Croydon for a couple of weeks just to give a bit of breathing space for your service change communications to go out, because it's going to crowd it too much if we had all your service change stuff going out there with this as well. But we plan to go live on the 20th in Croydon. But I'm really pleased to report it's performing really well. I've just had a look at a live update before I came in, and it's being viewed, the 4 videos so far have been viewed a total of 44,000 times by 18,000 individuals across the 3 boroughs. And in terms of those
44,000 views, 26,000 have been looking for 3 seconds or more, which suggests it's more than just someone scrolling through their feed. It's actually caught their attention and they've looked at it for up to 3 seconds or over 3 seconds. And 14,000 have been 10-second views or more, which is basically the entire video. So that's a cost per 10-second view of 3p so far, which is extraordinarily good figures. So I expect that to increase slightly over the 6-week campaign, because obviously you might be retargeting people that have seen it once or twice before. But it's a really, really good starting point, because we've only actually spent just over £400 so far on advertising, and we've already got 14,000 10-second views, so it's performing very, very well in the campaign. So that's the Plastic Planet campaign, quick update for you there. Moving on to phase A, section 3. Not a huge amount to report here really, other than the customer satisfaction surveys at the HRRC sites continue, and he's fed back some information on those already. The material information signs will be installed in the coming weeks. These are some signs educating residents, informing residents where some of the bulky materials that they take to sites actually end up, how they recycle, what happens to them. So they'll be going into place in the coming weeks. Moving on to the Beddington landfill operations, paragraphs 4.4 and 4.5. Just give a quick update on that. So an open day was held at the Beddington site. It was actually the day before the last committee, so I updated you verbally on that and told you that it had been a successful day, but I wanted to just make sure it was included in one of the reports as well for the record. And it's been noted here that members of the committee felt that those open days could be highlighted better through the council contract, so we'll be making sure that's done in the future. And there was a CRG community liaison group meeting in July, which I attended. There was a good presentation from NTech Service, who are the company installing the pipe works for the decentralised energy network. So that was very informative, and there were no significant issues of concern raised by the group at that meeting. We'll continue to attend those meetings on behalf of the partnership. And then if we move on to phase B, this is, at the last committee meeting I explained that we've been working closely with Residual to look at or refine their plans and agree their plans for how they engage and communicate with stakeholders in the community once the facility is operational. I said I'd bring back some further information at this meeting, and I'm pleased to be able to do that. Paragraphs or sections 6.4 through to 6.8 provide a fair bit more detail on some of the plans around what that might look like. In particular, the education centre, which will be a dedicated room in the administration block where you can accommodate up to 25 visitors at any one time. And the interpretation boards that will be placed in there. And there'll also be the external platform that I think I mentioned that you'll be able to access from that room, where you can look over the school landfill and wildlife habitats. A bit more detail on the guided tours. So there'll be a minimum of 12 tours per year of the facility. We hope there will be more than that, but that's what we're sort of contractually obliged to deliver. And you'll be able to register your interest in attending a tour either through an online booking system or by phoning the Education Community Benefits Officer. This is the new post that we're now appointed someone to. I believe they're joining in September. And whilst some of their time will be shared across other facilities, they will be based at Beddington, which is a really positive development. So it's good that we now know who's going to be managing those bookings and facilitating the visits. The tours will follow a predefined route, and across that route there will be interpretation boards which will match the kind of look and feel of the boards that they've seen in the education centre. So it's got that significant coherent approach to it. In addition to those tours from the community and schools, etc., there will be also tours for key stakeholders, councillors, members of parliament, GLA representatives, etc. So they will be in addition to those 12 tours for the community groups. The virtual visitor centre, really important, it's basically a website. It will be a microsite, it will be very engaging. I've seen some very, very early sort of ideas, concept ideas, but it's looking really good. It's going to be engaging, it's going to be eye-catching, informative. It's going to be designed in a way that you don't have to have a huge amount of technical knowledge to understand what it is you're seeing. It's going to be very video rich.
in terms of videos of the key parts of the waste treatment process. Initially, those videos will be from other Residual facilities, but once the Bennington site is fully operational, those videos will be shot locally, and the content will be actually from the Bennington facility itself. So that's moving along nicely. The site will also provide a prominent link to a site where people can look at the emissions data in terms of where, in terms of the monitoring data that's being published on a regular basis. So that's obviously very important as well. And then finally, a little bit on schools engagement. So, as I say, visits by particularly secondary schools to the site will be encouraged and will be facilitated. And that's something that we will need support for boroughs to deliver as well, I think. So we're very keen to work with your education departments to sort of try and get that engagement going. And finally, the community liaison group and community newsletter are required to carry on holding community liaison group meetings on an annual basis once the facility is operational. They've been holding them on a quarterly basis throughout the building and commissioning phases, and they have now indicated that they do intend to continue to run those on a quarterly basis initially, certainly for the first year, and then they'll sort of see how people feel about it. But those meetings are well attended, and I think we're more feel that they're very useful as well. So there's no question that they'll carry on holding those on a quarterly basis as opposed to an annual basis. And it's finally just to say there is one more community newsletter in the pipeline which will be published shortly after the facility is operational. And of course there's the opportunity and the option for us to continue to produce those newsletters going forward, but those costs will need to be met by a big partnership as opposed to Residual in the future.
Any comments or questions?
Just a quick question on the social media campaign on plastics. It'd be useful if you noticed, or if once it's over, you notice any trends on, obviously people might comment and they might not only getting the numbers in terms of views, but whether there's trends in terms of what especially the younger people were mentioning, or if we got a lot of engagement with specific stuff, that would be quite useful to know.
Yeah, John, as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm not really sure where the national newspapers are coming from, putting out cynical articles about where recycling goes, because it's not really helping people, encourage people to recycle. So I think, bearing in mind we're actually putting out, we're rolling out new systems where we're encouraging more recycling. I've had a few questions from residents regarding where the South London Waste Partnerships recycling goes, and I was really pleased to find out that none of the sources mentioned in the national newspapers were sources that this partnership uses. But I think we really need to tell the story in a simplistic way of where not just the plastics go, but where the paper goes, from either the box or the bin straight to the end of it becoming something else, or in terms of the plastics, where it gets used for, where it's sold, and etc. And I think we need to spell that out in a quite simplistic way. And I think we need that really urgently. I know you said you're coming online for Croydon on the 20th of September, but we really do need to be accountable to residents to say this is what happens to your recycling, because then we'll encourage people to recycle more, and then perhaps defeat some of that cynicism around recycling. So I think that's probably your most crucial task, I think, in terms of communications. On the other issue, in terms of producing the emissions from the Residual incinerator, is I think the key is going to be that those must be independent measurements of emissions, because we need to explain who's actually putting those emissions out. Is it the Environmental Health Agency that are doing it? Is it us that's doing it? Or is it Residual that are producing the statistics on the site? I would prefer it if there was an independent method of measurement. And I'm not sure, is the measurement done on site by some sort of filter that can actually measure it and that can't be tampered with? Or how is it measured? I think the committee would like to know that, because then we can make sure A, it's independent, and B, it's accurate when we talk to residents.
Yeah, on the first point, I completely agree in terms of where materials end up is critical. We had a conversation management group about there is some information on the partnership website, but I think that information needs to be updated. It needs to have a slightly, I think the narrative needs to change a bit to have a more honest, realistic conversation with residents. The reality is it's quite difficult because it's a very fascinating, I never realised, but the market is really complex and really different, and things go to different places, different weeks. So it's I think we need to just be really sort of upfront with residents, but provide the reassurance that we can that everything that basically that recycling is actually recycling. I think you're absolutely right. So I'll certainly take that one. In terms of the emissions monitoring, my understanding is that the equipment is sort of at the facility itself. Obviously, that's where the measurements are taken. The Environment Agency have access to that equipment, and I believe that they can access it 24 hours a day, any time of year. So they ensure that equipment is operating effectively and correctly, so there's no sort of potential tampering going on, etc. So we can be confident that the data that it's producing is accurate and reliable. That's the information that the Environment Agency will monitor and keep an eye on, and that's the same information that will get presented to the public. So there won't be different sets of information for different people. It might be presented in slightly different ways. I think it's important that the information we present to the public is understandable. And I suspect the stuff that goes to the Environment Agency isn't. So we probably need some explanatory information to support it as well.
And sorry to come back, John, and that's quite important that in any paragraph that you write in terms of our web page, that part is explained, that it's measured by this, and this, so that residents don't think that this is just spin or PR. They realise that it's actually, this is where it comes from, this is how the measurement's done, and it is independently done. So if we say that on our website, I think it's really important to reassure residents.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks. On that last point, can I just clarify how we are going to be, or where we're going to present this information to residents? Is the intention still to put it on our website?
The intention is that the information will sit on the Residual website. There will be links to it from the Virtual Visitor Centre and from the Borough website. So that will take you through to their site to view the information. It's also available if people want to double check it, cross-reference it. You can also obtain it by going to the Environment Agency. This information is publicly available. What we're trying to do is just make it easy for people to get that information to reassure them.
We can see how this works in practice when the facility is operational, and we're looking at end of October. I'm just conscious when we talked about this back in March, in the minutes sort of report this, it was, the members mentioned that we thought it would be a good idea for the emissions to be publicly available on our website, on the Waste Partnerships website, rather than on our contractors' website, and that was something that officers were going to go away and look at. So I'm just flagging that I want to be confident that those figures were accurate, but not just accurate, up to date. I know sometimes the figures don't quite reflect your preferred message, then sometimes other things become more important on the list of priorities, and if it's not our website, we can't change it so it's available when we want it to be available. So as long as we all know that that's got to be accurate and up to date, otherwise I think it probably should revert to the original idea we talked about 6 months ago, which is that we host it, it's our contract, and we should host it. And I think, personally, that's probably what we should be doing.
I think the issue is it's actually a pretty resource-intensive thing. It's a long-term commitment, 25-year life of facility, to have a long-term commitment that every day this information is uploaded and is better. So I think we just need to bear that in mind in terms of who's doing that. But I know that Residual certainly are very clearly aware that this is a top priority for this committee and for wider stakeholders. I think there's no doubt that we'll be keeping a very close eye on it. But I can certainly take that away and have a look what the resource implications would be in terms of having that information on the partnerships website. It will still be the information that we will provide to us because it's from their facility in the same way that the Environment Agency rely on Residual to provide the information. The Environment Agency obviously monitor that and can check the equipment to ensure it's operating properly, etc. But
the data originates from the facility operator.
Okay, yeah, one final thing. I mean, I think that's fine. I'm slightly sceptical about the resource implications. I mean, data's collected in this, in London on a daily basis by all sorts of people, and it's automatically fed through onto websites, computers, and other, data holders. I'm not expecting that the solution involves someone at Viridor kind of emailing us saying today's numbers are this, and then someone on the partnership then has to upload it onto a website, because there will be far easier ways of doing that. So I wouldn't expect that should be a impediment to that.
Can I just ask Ellie to come as well?
This is anticipating that the microsite where all of the information about the site is in one place, including that emission stuff. I think if we have any concerns at all, there's absolutely nothing to stop us also producing things on the partnership website or borough websites. And I think the number one aim is that this should be as transparent as possible, with clear information that's well explained, it's easy to access. Whether that's keeping everything in one single location or it being available on other sources, it's more about the hosting of the microsite, I think, and making sure that's easily accessible, so we can look at that.
Merton's Sustainable Communities scrutiny panel has decided to choose single-use plastic as its task group work this year. So it would be useful to make sure that you link in, provide whatever you have, but also that we feed back to you from Merton what the findings of that working group are. It won't just be councillors on it, it will be others as well. I'm not part of that group, but it's for them to decide their composition. And I think it would be useful to work together and actually to share that with other boroughs as well once that's been completed in the partnership.
Just a very brief one, Chair. I attended the London Valley Regional Park Trust last week, and it was reported there was a caravan pass between Vivian and London Borough Sutton on the work they're doing together. Is it the various nature conservation side? It's really more for yourself and Councillor Owen to report to comment on than me. The way it was presented to us, it does look like it's a bit of an opportunity that's being missed at the moment. I'm sure we'll come right in the end, but it looks like it could be an improvement in the relationship between the parties.
Yeah, and we're hoping that with the new councillors that will be on the group, we'll be able to drive it a bit better and make sure that they get the best out of that money that's there, and that will prove their promises in terms of the park and the benefit of it.
And from your point of view, you're happy that Viridor are playing ball in that?
I think we can do more, and hopefully I've had conversations with some of the councillors and make sure we're on the same page and we have that vision to see the park that we and residents expect to see. Yes, I'm happy that with the new membership it should be much better than how it's been.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes.
While we were talking about recycling, apologies everyone, but could we sneak a workshop in on recycling initiatives that we're all doing in our own boroughs so that we can share those ideas? So one workshop will do it, for instance, things like writing to employers about getting their staff to use reusable coffee cups, etc. We're doing that in Croydon at the moment. And also some form of discussion from the experts on some of the deposit schemes that supermarkets across Germany particularly, which really affected, because obviously we would have to have some form of discussion with Veolia about being the company that would go and collect that, but they would have to work with the supermarkets. But it's those sort of exciting initiatives that we can, as a great big partnership like South London Waste Partnership, it could be us that leads the way in London.
That certainly would be exciting about to see that.
I'll second that. We passed a motion at full council yesterday on reducing and eliminating single plastic use in recycling, and we did flag the partnership here. So I think yes, we'd be stronger as for boroughs if we're lobbying or if we're engaging with businesses. So definitely, I would welcome that.
Okay.
Yeah, very interested in that. We also passed a motion against single-use plastics and want to look at the whole range of different measures that we can take to businesses doing it within the council, reducing our plastic use, etc. It'd be good to compare notes. I think we're really inclusive of this type of forum.
Yes, it would be really good to facilitate that, and we, as a region, South Brunswick, we've got opportunities because we've got really strong established working relationships. Absolutely something we want to look at managing and taking forward. So that's one of the reasons for the Waste Strategy Manager post that we're looking at progressing. So we're going to bring those benefits and then
Well, in there. Thank you then. We've talked that one round. So there's no it's for noting. There's a vote and the recommendations. We'll look forward to some things coming back from the vote there. Any other urgent business? No. And therefore we get to the part of the agenda where we have to exclude the press and the public.